sees.
Oh, got
Um,
it. Hold on. I'm just getting books to hot my microphone up so it looks like I'm legit, but it's not
yeah, I
legit.
know. I packed mine. Where are you? You're in your living room in front of your.
I moved my dining room table over. I moved my dining room table over to like in front of my um to in front of my I need more books. To in front of my what's it called? Fireplace
Oh,
because Garrett has a client at 10. Are we not doing microphone?
you could.
Well, I think we either both do it or we don't do it.
I mean, I don't have one, so
Great, so we're not doing it.
no.
Are we in split screen?
Yeah,
Okay, great. And you're the one who's recording, so great.
yeah. It records. I don't know what it'll record.
What do you
Uh,
mean?
it'll record a video and an audio. I don't know though, in term like if it will. Okay, well. In terms of two separate videos, I don't think it's going to record that. Like you and me. It'll just record both of us.
Yeah, exactly. The split screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is good. I mean, that's what whenever I see anybody do a podcast at home, that's what it is.
Oh,
Even and so like Alex will take the clip. So basically when I'm saying something crazy, we'll see your reaction. And when you're saying something crazy, we'll see my reaction. Oh my God. Are you
aren't you going
try?
to
Hold-
the
I have to put my phone on do not disturb because everybody is hitting me up because I'm
okay.
so popular.
Emphasis on the poop.
Yeah, I did poop a lot this morning. Like
Um,
so
good for you. I didn't. No, I did. I was a little messy though. Um,
you were messy,
I would
not messy.
I had my thing, but I packed it.
Um, where is my do not disturb? How do I get to do not disturb, Todd?
I don't know, Barbara. Figure it out. Use what do you mean you don't know
What?
you don't know how to get to do not disturb? You must. I'm so hot and sweaty.
I I don't. Tell me how to do it.
Down with your phone from the top right.
Okay, and then what?
And then click the little moon.
I
Do
don't
you
see a moon.
never put your phone on do not disturb?
Oh, there, focus. Ha 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 ha.
Do you? I do it whenever I sleep.
No, I don't, and I know you do because when I text
Why?
you and you're already asleep, it's like, delivered silently.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, hi. Good morning. We're in different time zones.
I know, I miss you.
I miss you too. I'll see you next week though. And it's your birthday tomorrow. Have we started
Yeah.
festivities yet?
Tonight, I don't know.
What's
I always feel so weird about birthdays.
oh God, why?
Don't oh God me.
Oh
I don't
God.
know. For somebody who loves attention, I just like, it feels like too much attention.
I mean, it's not like a bar mitzvah where you're being put in a chair and pushed up.
I mean, maybe it is. You don't know how I celebrate.
You could be put in a chair tied up and had things done to you. What are you gonna
You
start
did
with
say
the
that was a
celebration?
potential present for me, so
You'll have to wait and see. What is the start of the celebration today?
we're just going to dinner.
Dinner today and tomorrow. Where are you going to dinner?
Going to dinner at this place called La Dolce Vita
I thought
in
that
Beverly Hills. What?
I thought that's tomorrow.
Nor that's tonight.
Oh, well then what are you doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow we're going to a restaurant. I don't know what accent that is, called Matu, which is a Japanese steakhouse.
Hmm,
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
nice. All right, birthday.
yeah. I don't know. My it just feels everything feels like weird and anticlimactic this year.
Well, Uh, what would make it feel more climactic?
A climax? I don't know. um,
An orgasm?
in orgasm.
A hor
I don't know. I just, with Adam and then my grandmother, it's just like been a lot, and
hmm.
I just like don't feel celebratory at all. And I think like, what Andrew, my therapist, would tell me is like, how do you find a way to like, identify and celebrate what needs to be celebrated, even if you don't feel um, the most inclined to celebrate.
Hmm.
Just feel sad. I'm just sad
Well, it has
and
been
tired.
a bad year for you. So,
Yeah, like 2023 needs to stop.
well, in 2 months.
Oh, that's a good point.
Then you
We
can
have 2 months.
celebrate.
We actually only have a month, like month and a half.
Yes, to be exact.
Yeah.
Um,
How are
well,
you?
I'm fine. I just ate a chicken Caesar wrap, which I feel like I talk about wraps every time we talk.
Well, I think you're obsessed with rats.
I love a wrap, okay? I just love it. Um, I had that. I was looking at an apartment and I ran. It's so nice out here in New York. So I'm
How
sweating.
was the apartment?
It was cute, but it's a no. Every
Okay.
inch of the apartment was covered in something like art, and it was like all cool art, but it was like too much. It was like if a hoarder had good taste and organizational skills, it was like that. Um, Very cute. Everything needed to be gutted, which I'm just not, I don't want to do. Adorable though. And I have my wrap, and now I'm here with you.
Great. Love that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so what are you talking what are we talking about? And what are we talking and what are you talking about?
Um, I mean, I think I'm talking about like the immense um amount of sadness I'm feeling, I think it's just like it's hard to tolerate it, and I don't tolerate things I don't like easily. Um, so I have like such a um practiced habit of not acknowledging this stuff and just kind of like swallowing it down. Um, so I think I'm trying to course correct a little bit in regards to that and like allow myself to feel it, but like, ooh, hard. I'm just, scared.
I mean, there's a lot that you've had to deal with lately that's sad. A lot of loss.
Yeah.
8 people?
6 in the past 2 years.
Jeez.
Yeah, 6 in the past 2 years.
It's a lot.
It's a lot
Okay.
for people listening. My grandmother passed away 2 weeks ago. She had Alzheimer's, really bad Alzheimer's, was in a home for 7 years. So we knew it was coming. We just didn't know when. I will say it was really cathartic and wonderful to like be with my family in Boston. We went through her house and all of her like different tchotchkes. And when I say this woman collected tchotchke, like if I knew how to spell tchotchke, I'd spell it all with capital letters, but I don't, so I won't. Um, and it was really nice to be with my aunt and my cousins and go through her stuff, and have all of those, memories come flooding back. So it was, I guess that was really nice. It's just like continues to hit over and over again. And losing a grandparent is so interesting because, you know, obviously we know they're like 2 generations older than us. So they're not going to be with us for our entire lives, but like those are the people that have known you the longest that die the soonest for the most part. And there's something about like specifically Nanny Renee was like the most supportive she was not the best mother, but she was an unbelievable grandmother, and really identified um, who I was and what I needed to hear at a super young age. Was pretty much like the first person to acknowledge, Garrett is so annoying. Just go.
How how have you been processing this in therapy? Like what does your therapist, what direction does he guide you in, or questions that have been helpful to um work through this?
Well, I think the thing that has been most helpful is he was like, introduce me to Renee,
Yeah.
which was so beautiful. And I like hadn't thought about doing that. And I think just like talking about her and who she was to me and who she was to my sister,
Hmm.
is just
Give you a hug.
thank you, Lovey. It just was felt like a really nice way to celebrate her. Um, the idea of introducing her to somebody now that she's gone was kind of lovely because like she does live on in me and the rest of my family. It's not death. Death doesn't have to be as finite as I think societally we make it out to be. Um, I
What?
also had like a crazy dream about Adam last night
Mm.
that like he had seen a psychic that told him the exact day that he was going to die. And I was like trying to convince him that like maybe she was wrong and that he wasn't going to die. And then I woke up and I was like, he's dead. It's like the remembering that's always the worst, you know, when like you have a Delulu moment and you're like, oh my God, like I'm disassociated from reality. And then all of a sudden, like reality comes crashing back and you're like, well, that was a nice recess.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big challenge, you're saying cultural, whatever. What did you say? Well, what I was going to say is that we don't really hold space for loss culturally.
Right.
Most people, because it is such an amorphous, ambiguous, ambivalent experience, it's not like a lot of information or education or experience with any kind of loss. And so then I think that really has a confounding effect on how people go through and grieve, and the duration of
Mhm.
it, and the depth of it, and the power of it, and the memories, and the feeling, and versus the not feeling. The whole thing becomes this like trying to walk down the street with your eyes closed experience.
Yeah.
And everything you bump into is so surprising. And I don't think that's wrong or bad. I just wish there was a little bit more of um, I don't know, a place that we hold space for, one of the most common expected things.
Mhm.
Um, but there's not. So everyone is just kind of going through it alone, figuring it out through their.
Well, and it's also the weirdness of like we're expected to continue to just go through life and like, and we've talked about this, like how people, the question like, how are you? It's not really a question, it's like a greeting,
Mm,
but being posed with that question when something significant has happened in your life, whether it's positive or negative, it's like, I don't know how to answer when somebody asks how I am because I don't want to have a conversation with this particular person. Like, it's one thing when I'm talking to you, it's another thing when I'm talking to somebody at the restaurant that, is a server at the restaurant. Like, I don't really want to get into it, you
yeah.
know, but it feels so wrong being like, I'm great because I'm not.
Don't say you're great then.
Well, I've started not to. I've been like, I'm okay,
Yeah.
or I'm fine, which is like I hate the word fine.
It's
I
a
hate describing myself as fine, even though
non-word.
I'm fine.
Fine.
Fine. Um,
I say
yeah,
up, down. I say it's a day.
it's day. It's been a day.
It's
It's
a
been a
day.
year. It's
It's
been
another day.
what's the Friends theme?
It's been up, it's been down. I'll be there for you. Whatever, I don't care. Yeah, it is
How
a
are
great.
you?
But I
How
think
are
what
you?
you're
What I
saying is that it's bizarre when you're going through major turmoil, internal, external, whatever, and you're being prompted with questions to reveal how you're doing, and you're obviously not going to reveal to everybody, and the context matters, and people often just say good and smile and move on, in terms of numbing and just not necessarily revealing because it's not, you don't need to, you don't want to, who wants to? So, well, I'm grieving 6 losses. How are you doing? It's just not
Yeah.
to
But it's
be.
also like people don't have like this social awareness of like if I were to say up and down, like don't ask me
What's the down?
specifics. Yeah, like I don't if I wanted to share, I'd share.
Yeah.
I feel like we're in such a weird place culturally with social media where like everyone's internal thoughts are externalized. So like when you encounter a person in real life who's going through something that may potentially be internal, everybody is so nosy and like, oh, like I want to like show up for this person, and that's a lovely thought. But at the end of the day, like I'm at work, like I want to hand laminate this dough and get the fuck out.
I want you to hand laminate my dough.
Sure, babe, next week when I see you.
Okay.
So what are you talking about? What's going on with you this week?
There's so many things that are going on. I don't even know what, okay. I could go down the list. Um, and then, yeah, okay. Talking about the logistics of where I'm living, which has been the conversation for um 28, 37, what's that, 9 years?
No
It's
comment.
a problem for me. What?
Wait, actually, I do have a comment. I said no comment, but now I actually do have a comment because you came to a realization this week, and I'd love to call that out for you
Civilization.
that you don't want to buy a house in Los Angeles.
No, I don't. Even
Well,
though,
that's big, Todd.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah. I want to be based in New York primarily and visit California.
sad.
Um, I
Sad
know.
for me, good for you.
Also sad for me. Um, I feel like we became friends recently, but became close really faster than I've ever become close with somebody. So
Mm.
it's a really big bummer to not have direct access to you and stalk you all the time. But I can do so virtually, I guess.
Stalking.
I'm
Yeah.
Ellie, and you will be coming to New York.
Yeah, we'll get a place that's big enough and I'll come stay with you.
I will.
Yeah.
Garrett and Junie and
And
Hunter.
you.
Um, not because I don't. Anyway, what am I talking about? I'm talking about that home, what I'm doing. That's more of logistical assistance and help. I don't really have a I, I don't really have someone that I can actually go through that with and get
Mm.
I can use um in a neutral way. So it's really helpful to have that with my therapist, and that's been the primary role of our relationship. I know we're talking about what we're talking about in therapy, but my therapy is both what I'm talking about and more so the context of therapy for me. That it's
Mm.
the relationship. Um, it's not necessarily the content that we're talking about that's most impactful for me. It's the fact that he's there for me in ways that no one in my life has been. So that's really the crux of what's so helpful for me. But in terms of the topics that we were talking about, it's dating, that and dating. Um, so there was plenty on the agenda for this week.
Yeah, what's going on dating wise?
Do I want to go into that?
Totally up to you.
Sure. So I've been on a couple of dates with somebody, just getting to know them. I hate dating. I'm like, I don't really have multiple speeds. Like I'm either drive or reverse. Like it's either like fuck you goodbye or like I'm gonna go rent a U-Haul. And so if
Maybe you need to start driving a stick, babe.
oh, I do know my way around a stick.
I was gonna say you're quite familiar with the stick. There are multiple gears, doll.
And honestly, I don't think that that's wrong. I think, we have this idealized version of dating or love that looks one way, but the reality is that, Many people have multiple different speeds. Some people only have one, you know, and I really don't think that it matters. And I don't think it's changeable either. I think I'm just trying to tolerate being in this space of dating that's really confusing, and you don't know anything, and you can't know anything, and you shouldn't even be able to know anything. And that's just really hard because, you know, for me and my history, my traumas, you know, being able to relax into a relationship that's intimate, and romantic is just not something really I was able to do until my ex. And then when that ended, it's been a long time since um, I've been able to do that. So, you know, things come up, I get anxious. And we talked a bit about that. We talked about sex. Um, because despite being a sex therapist, people think that that means that I have no sexual issues. Well, surprise, surprise.
Oh
What
my
does that
God, you do?
what does that mean when she's like, surprise, surprise? I feel like
Surprise, surprise.
yeah, I have sexual issues, which is why I became a sex therapist. I was like, what's happening, Dick? What are you doing? And then I became
Yeah.
a sex therapist, and I'm like, oh, now I know what my dick is doing, but it hasn't changed what my dick is or is not doing. Anyway,
Well, at least you know what it's doing though, right?
yeah. But we talked about just how hard it is for me to just simply be present, like I said, just being able to relax, and not be in my head intellectualizing or fantasizing or whatever. Which, by
Mm.
the way, is not a bad thing to fantasize, but you know, when it's in service of um, ADD or anxiety, it can be a challenge for pleasure. So anyway, we talked about that.
Wait, I'm curious about like, sorry, we're going back to your dating.
Sure.
I'm curious about the idea of patience for you, given
Mm,
your two speeds. Because I know when I was single and I had just met Garrett, I'm similar to you. Like, I'm either never fucking talking to you again or I'm pregnant.
fully.
And I,
Let's.
duh. And with Garrett, I was like, I asked Garrett to be my boyfriend like 3 weeks in. I was like, let's do this, let's go. And he very calmly was like, I don't love labels. I don't want to rush into anything. Like, let's continue to see each other and see if we continue to vibe. He didn't use the word vibe. Thank God. I just did that. So, but, um, and that was really interesting for me because for the first time, somebody had been able to like articulate that I was super, super aggressive in regards to like wanting a relationship and they weren't. However, that didn't mean that it had to automatically end. It like allowed it was like honestly a gift for me to like slow down and be like, oh, okay, like I'm actually getting to know this person before I'm like, oh my God, be my boyfriend, marry me, have all of my babies, and blah 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 blah, which I had done in the past, and to horrible, horrible effect. So I wonder if there's a way for you, or what I would love for you is to like, yes, have more patience for this man that you're dating, but also for yourself in terms of like, it's okay to have two speeds, like you just said, but it's also okay for you to be like, okay, I have two speeds, and like maybe he has more speeds. So, like, I can just get a little better at like carving between my two speeds,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, that's the kind of goal. And that's, you know, what I'm trying to do my best at. Um, but you know, it's a challenge, you know, the experience. I mean, we talked about how growing up, he was like, well, growing up, you didn't really get a lot. And I was like, well, it's not necessarily the case. I got a lot. And the problem was that I didn't know when it was going to be taken away. And I didn't know if it was going to be reliable because it just wasn't. You know, my dad was complete lunatic, and my mom then had to be both my parents and my protector and my shield. And so at times she wouldn't be able to do that because she was getting his wrath. And so I
Right.
was left a lot. And so while consciously I'm not thinking this, emotionally and viscerally and physiologically, my body is sending out all of these messages to tell me that something is wrong. And so it's really what I'm trying to do my best at is in like really wrangling this terrified kid inside of me is to just, you know, remind him that that's what's happening. And it's a challenge, and it's ongoing. I mean, I think my last relationship, I was like 20. So I wasn't really thinking of, I was just, it started off with just some good sex and I was 20. So I was like, whatever, this is great. It wasn't like, okay, I'm 37. I've been single for 5 years. I feel lonely. I want a relationship. It was like, I want to get dick down like
But you still want to get dick down.
twice a day. What?
I said you still want to get dick down.
Maybe my in a variety of different ways, but I'm no longer that well I was gonna
Day
say
by
I'm no longer
day.
that stubby bitch. But I've learned to become more of a dom top. Anyway, yeah, things have changed. So I don't know. It takes a lot of effort. And I hear this from my clients, I hear this from everybody that's dating, is it's so hard. And I'm thankful that I've had my therapist to know me long enough and to see me go through what, you know, I was describing because I met him when I was 14. Um,
Mm,
because I think most people get carried away with the narrative of the timing and the unknownness and the ambiguity as opposed to really trying to understand why it's so hard to sit with uncertainty. Um, which it is fundamentally, you know, it doesn't have to always be about trauma, but there's usually always some kind of a story there. Um,
yeah.
so it's a fucking balancing act. I hate it.
Yeah, it is. It's really hard. It's
Sign on the
really
dotted
hard.
line or goodbye. Sell me your soul
Sell me your apartment
or that.
or that.
Um, yeah. Hmm. But that's the full story.
Okay. Well, I love the full story. You were talking a lot about tolerance, which actually like kind of bridges us into the topic that we had talked about wanting to like
Yeah,
discuss today.
that's correct.
Yeah.
For
Look at
people,
that. Oh my God.
tolerance,
What do you tolerate, Todd?
everything. I mean, I don't think people talk about like the level of tolerance. Like you in the past 2 years have lost 6 people and not
Mm,
periphery people, major people. You walk around having to tolerate that heavy fucking burden, that heavy load of loss. And
not
don't,
load.
don't go there. I almost went there, but we're being serious
Sorry. Right.
about come. This is
Sorry,
about
it's about
loss. Both, sure. Come in laws. Come in laws. But no, you know, you're walking around tolerating all of this stuff, and it's not to say that you shouldn't. You should. You have to. What are you going to do? You lock yourself away and cry all day? No, you have to function. And we all are walking around tolerating something. Every single person. Just because life's imperfect and we have to whatever. Anyway, but I don't think people really recognize that or can hold that and tolerate it within itself. You know, we feel something and we're like, okay, we have to analyze this and intellectualize this and psychologize this because something is wrong, as opposed to, okay, of course something is wrong. Okay, I have to tolerate, I have to understand this and tolerate it. That's all I can do. Um,
Yeah.
I think there is some kind of a relief to that, but it's not always that easy.
I also think that tolerate or tolerance is like a dirty word to a certain extent.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it gives it
especially
it
now,
gives an impression that like there's something negative that you have to deal with.
right? It's toxic. Don't
Mm.
tolerate that.
Yeah. Whereas like I think that tolerance and like tolerate we need to like demystify that because the reality is like you were explaining before, we tolerate lots of things on a day-to-day basis. Like, you know, with Garrett, you know, getting into a relationship with somebody is learning how to compromise, right? Compromise is like basically a different word for tolerate.
Yeah.
Compromise things and tolerate things in a relationship that you may not have been used to or come across in the past, like figuring out communication styles. Like I, at the beginning of my relationship with Garrett like was kind of silent, and I am not. You know, so I would. Oh my God, did you know? I talk a lot and I'm loud.
Huh. No.
Meh, meh. So I would often feel as if I was like steamrolling him or, overpowering him to the point where I didn't really know what he was thinking, and that was a big issue for me down the line, and when we got into couples therapy, we like could really unpack that and figure out like, okay, why does Garrett like shrink backwards and why do I steamroll ahead? And how do we find a way to like make room for each other and tolerate these habitualized responses to conflict?
Hmm.
Like how do I calm myself to make room for him to speak and not take all of the airtime myself?
Yes, balance, compromise,
Juggles.
tolerance.
Yeah.
Just to make it clear, when we're talking about tolerance, we're not talking about abuse. Just so we know.
No, of course not.
So often
But
when
the clarification,
people are like, "Well, what about abuse?" And I'm like, "This isn't about abuse. This is not about it. Don't tolerate abuse." But yeah, I mean, there's always an imperfection or a difference or a challenge or an unsolvable difference, conflict that, in relationships, it needs to be tolerated that I think so many people often encounter. And then they're like, uh-oh, this is bad. And they either do the I'm bad or they do the they're bad, um,
right.
or both. Um,
Well,
and
because we're trained to see the world in black and white,
right.
right? We're trained to see everything in a linear scale and not understand that, like, okay, Garrett may be slower to defend himself, but maybe it's my job as his partner to make room for him to, instead of being like, well, he doesn't know how to, and like that's his problem. It's not. It's actually like our thing to figure out together because I love him and I'm invested in him
Yeah. Mm.
sometimes.
But it's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah. When thinking about tolerance, I was mostly thinking about my mother, whom I love dearly. Um, but and there's like this new approach to relationship that's like, okay, if they do something that's wrong or if they don't understand, you cut them out of your life. But it's not, it's rarely that simple when it's a family member.
Mm,
Like I'm very close to my mother, but our relationship has not always been like that. And we've had many ups and downs and periods of times where we don't speak at all. And there are
mm,
things that she did that were really hurtful for me that I had to um work through on my own separately because she was not capable of repairing. And I had to accept and tolerate that limitation.
mm,
Because the decision for me was, she's not changing. She's who she is. It's like, do I want a relationship with my mother as she is, or do I want to continue to fight her and beg her to change, basically give me what I needed when I was a kid as an adult, which I don't even need?
right.
Or can I form a new relationship with her as an adult where I don't need to seek and desperately cling to her to get the things that I needed when I was a kid that I don't need now? And I chose that. And it's hard. And there are a lot of things that happen that I'm like, ugh, and it's annoying, but it's more important for me to have a relationship with her. And I've kind of, obviously there's a spectrum, but I've enjoyed having a newer version of that relationship that's more adult where, she is my mother and I do get love from her, but it's a different type of love than, I think I was seeking before and constantly berating her for not being able to show me. We're
Mm,
now a little bit funner and we can laugh and it's, less intense with the shit that some of my brothers I know, even though that's a whole other story, resent her for from childhood. And it's just, I chose to let go of a lot of that stuff because it was like, if I don't, I wouldn't be able to want to spend any time with her.
well, it
Anyway.
doesn't serve you. It's like you get to a point and I mean, I'm having a similar situation with my other grandmother, who has caused me a lot of trauma in my life. But, she just turned 90. I don't know how much longer she's going to be with us. but I'm choosing to move beyond that stuff because I don't want to live my life holding on to negativity. You
Right,
know, like this is a powerful person in my life, sometimes negative, sometimes positive, but it's up to you to decide whether or not you can move through it.
right. Which is, how connected forgiveness, compromise is to tolerance. Um, it's just hard. I think it's hard with the family member. It's hard with the partner. With my ex, I
Well,
really struggled.
the stakes feel so large,
Yeah,
you know? It just everything feels scary because you're like, well, I don't you don't want to rock the boat, you don't want to upset somebody, but the reality is like the only way to have a healthy, emotionally mature relationship with somebody is to rock the boat sometimes. And then also realize like when you gotta just like stay in the middle of the boat.
yeah. What's so interesting about that is I so struggled out with my ex is like with my mom and my dad, not my brothers, but I had no problem rocking the boat. I was
Mm.
very much like a you did this to me kind of a thing. And where is my apology and my money, or some version of apology. Um, with my brothers, I was always intimidated by them, so I never confronted them. But with my ex, I never confronted him really about much. It really shut me down when I was encountering that kind of a thing, which is interesting, and it's about my own shit, but
Well, I would imagine that's also like, your ex represented a safe new space for you. When you felt so much trauma at home as a child, it was easy to like ruffle those feathers, whereas like you were trying to protect your idea of a happy ending with your ex, you know?
yeah, I mean, I think I was also just in a very triggered space, and I didn't know it,
Yeah.
but yeah, the risks, the stakes are different, but it's such an important thing that we just don't talk about, but we do all the time. Like we're doing it now. You're having to tolerate my voice. How are you able to do that?
I don't know,
I don't know either.
but
I'm
I am.
myself. I have my pills next to me just in case.
Oh, good. Important to medicate. That's a great way to tolerate people.
Well, yeah, doing it since
Not
I was
know.
10. Um, yeah. I don't have any hot questions to ask.
Um, okay, I can come up with a hot question.
Hot take, a hot question.
Um,
I mean, we don't need to ask a hot question.
well, yes, we do, if that's part of the structure of the episodes we do, Todd.
Is it? Oh, speaking of which, we need to do some other things.
No, we're gonna do those things when we're
Right,
together in person.
correct.
Yes, I do think we should do like a hot question topic. Where are we on time? I have no idea.
It's 12:40.
What?
12:40.
Oh, okay.
We have some time.
Hot topic question.
I don't know, my mind just goes to sex every time I'm like rapid questions.
I
I'm
know, of course, because you're a pervy perv.
murder. Murder.
Um, you're like, talk me through what an orgasm feels to you.
No,
No, that's not the question, Todd.
I did have a very good orgasm the other day. I was like shocked. 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 SHONKED. Shocked.
Shocked. We
Is
were
that
shocked.
yeah. It just like kept going and I was like, when you like start laughing and you're like, what's happening?
Yes, love that. Oh my God, wait, I'm obsessed. I'm very happy for you in this long, long, long orgasm.
Yeah, it was multiples. I was having multiple.
Love a
It's
multiple.
cool. Sorry.
Um, what's a hot question?
Um, mm,
Oh, I have a hot question.
mhm.
What's your take on threesomes?
Oh, depends. I don't crave them.
You don't crave them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I can't speak for the global population,
Mm, mm,
but
mm.
me, I don't crave them. No.
It's funny, like when I watch porn, like
Oh, I can't watch a threesome porn. I have no interest in that. I
I
don't know.
can't watch orgies. They're just like not hot to me. I'm like, I don't know
Not
where to
in the
look.
slightest.
I'm like, who do I look at? Where do I focus? There's too
Maybe.
many like, yeah, it's wild. But I love a threesome. Garrett and I don't play with others. But a threesome, like being a star, like guest star in a threesome.
Mm, yeah, I mean, I think it's because I'm single and a lonely biatch, but every time I do that, I just leave being like sad.
Feeling lonely.
Yeah, being like, well, I'm glad I just provided them with a service. Um, and
I
here
know, but like
I
having them fight over you. I mean, I guess that's not like a healthy way to think of a threesome. So never mind.
it's not, I mean, what's not unhealthy?
Gag me.
I mean, you're doing it just fine yourself.
That's true. But I
Um,
could always use a helping hand.
my ex and I used to have threesomes and they were hot, but they were also not, well, no, some were an issue and some were hot and like a bonding experience. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, like he wanted to and I didn't and it pissed me off, or
Well, yeah, obviously.
I was picking people that he didn't want, or whatever. The person he was picking with the body type triggered me because I wasn't that body type, or whatever. And then the other times it was really hot and we would laugh and it was like really bonding, and then we would like have sex again after the threesome because it was so hot and we would like go through it and blah blah blah. But I never really knew which version I was gonna get. And it was also something
Sure.
that didn't really, it wasn't like, oh, this means a lot to me that we fulfill this need. It was like not a need.
Right. Fair.
Yeah. Some people love though, like love the
Yeah.
more the merrier, which is great for them. I just don't know. I get very
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can handle two. More than two is just like sensory overload sometimes.
Yes. To where can you handle
I've never had two in me.
it? Me neither.
Um,
I've been to in someone else, but
how did that feel? I feel like that's like,
it was aerobics. It wasn't for me.
yeah,
Aerobics.
like
It was a sport. Like,
I will say like I definitely like have fantasized about DP.
yeah.
And like I definitely like I've watched DP porn, but like I don't know. I just like I like I like how my hole is.
Whenever I see a DP porn, it's like it's not arousing for me. It's not arousing, but it's more like I feel like I'm watching like a sport. I'm just impressed by like the skill. Um,
Not a
like,
sport.
wow, how can they do that? Like,
Stretching.
I guess. No, I mean I know how they can do that, but like I don't know, they must not have an anxiety disorder
Must not be Jewish.
or Joe with IBS.
Ugh. Or Hemis.
Ugh, don't remind me.
Sorry.
Um, yeah, threesomes. DP. Okay.
Okay.
Can't wait. I'm so glad my mom doesn't know how to access or know what a podcast is.
Well, mine does, and she'll definitely be listening.
Hi.
Hi, Kathy.
Um, who doesn't like a good conversation about threesome or a DP though?
Yeah, honestly, she'd be down for the conversation.
The conversation, yes. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Love you. Miss you. Kiss you.
I see you soon. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
I'm sad I can't be there.
Me too.
I'm gonna stop recording this.